The docking bays of the USN Culinary Horizon hummed with activity as shuttlecraft from 30 different species cycled through the station's airlocks. The massive orbital research station hung like a glittering pendant above Earth's blue curve, its observation decks offering a panoramic view of the planet that had, until today, been considered a culinary backwater by the Galactic Federation. Inside the main symposium hall, holographic banners flickered between languages, announcing the Faith Annual Galactic Gourmet Symposium in looping script. The air carried a dozen competing scents: Zepyrian spice blooms, Vorak fermentation vats, the sharp tang of cerealian ionized broths, and beneath it all, the warm, earthy aroma of slow-cooked beef and red wine. Marcus Vega adjusted his chef's whites, the fabric stiff and pristine, except for the faint stains around the cuffs, permanent reminders of a lifetime spent in kitchens. His knuckles bore the scars of 1,000 burns and cuts, each one a badge of honor. At his station, the beef bourguignon simmered gently, the rich sauce thickening to perfection. "Final check," he muttered to himself. Stirring the pot one last time, the meat fell apart at the touch of his spoon, tender as butter. Perfect. Across the hall, the Vorak delegation slithered into position at the judging table. Their gelatinous bodies quivered with anticipation, or perhaps disgust. It was hard to tell with Vorak. Their taste receptors were the most sensitive in the Federation, capable of detecting molecular imbalances at a single lick. They were also, Marcus had learned, the most arrogant food critics in known space. Critic Zorlax, the lead judge, oozed forward, his translucent body rippling as he extended a pseudopod toward Marcus's dish. "Ah, the human offering," he said, his voice a wet gurgle. "We were curious to see what your species considers cuisine." Marcus forced a smile. "Beef bourguignon, a classic Earth dish, braised for 12 hours with—" Yes, interrupted a Zepyrian judge, her mandibles clicking impatiently. "We all read the prep notes. Let us taste." Marcus slid the plate forward. The Vorak dipped a tendril into the sauce, then recoiled as if electrocuted. "This sludge," Zorlax hissed, his body darkening with displeasure. "Your cuisine is barely fit for waste reclamation." Laughter erupted from the Zepyrian delegation, their chitinous limbs clacking in amusement. Even the usually stoic Cerealians pulsed their orb, like eyes in what Marcus guessed was second-hand embarrassment. Marcus clenched his jaw. "You didn't even try it properly." Zorlax flicked the plate aside, sending the bourguignon splattering across the pristine counter. "We do not need to. Your species lacks the biological sophistication to produce anything worthy of galactic palates. Stick to your, what do you call them, protein bricks." More laughter. Marcus felt his face grow hot, but he kept his voice steady. "You're dismissing centuries of culinary tradition because it doesn't align with your—" "Ina," Zorlax gurgled, waving a dismissive pseudopod. "This symposium is for real chefs, not primitive apes playing with fire." The other judges murmured in agreement, already turning their attention to the next dish, a shimmering bioluminescent broth from the Cerealians. Marcus stood there, fists clenched, as the crowd moved on without him. At the edge of the hall, Lisa Hayes, the station's lead food scientist, watched the scene with narrowed eyes. She caught Marcus's gaze and gave him a small, knowing nod. They never even gave us a chance, Marcus thought, staring at the ruined bourguignon on the floor. But that was about to change. The feed flickered across the mess hall screen, casting blue shadows over Marcus Vega's scarred hands. He clenched his chef's knife, the steel edge biting into his palm, as the Galactic Food Council's verdict scrolled in bold, mocking letters. Human cuisine classified category Z inedible. Effective immediately, banned from interstellar menus and trade routes. Around him, the station's kitchen staff, human and alien alike, froze. A Cerealian sous chef, her floating orb eyes pulsing with pity, drifted closer. "Maybe stick to nutrient-paced soft skin," she said, her voice humming through the air like a struck crystal. "At least it's Federation. Approved." Marcus didn't look up. He stared at the footage, replaying the council session. Vorak critics dissolving into gelatinous laughter as his beef bourguignon was dumped into a waste reclaimer. They didn't even try it, he muttered. Of course not. Lisa Hayes slid into the seat beside him, her fingers tapping a rapid staccato on her datapad. The food scientist's goggles were smudged with grease, her white lab coat streaked with something that smelled suspiciously like fermented chili oil. Vorak taste receptors are 1,000 times more sensitive than ours. They take one whiff of anything complex and call it toxic. As a Pyrian dishwasher clattered plates in the sink, his chitinous arms making sharp, derisive clicks. Should have served them boiled grains. Simple, safe, he sneered, mandibles parting. But no, humans always think they're special. Marcus' knuckles whitened around the knife. We are special, Lisa snorted. Yeah, tell that to the 12 trade embassies that just cancelled their Earth contracts. She flipped her pad around, showing a cascade of rejection notices. The Rixie Collective revoked our spice export licenses. The Vorak homeworlds blacklisted Terran ingredients. Even the taste of eternity, that luxury liner you dreamed of cooking for. They replaced their human section with a second gelatinous nourishment bar. A murmur rippled through the mess hall. The few human staff, line cooks, dishwashers, a lone pastry chef, exchanged glances. One of them, a lanky kid named Jake Morrison, slammed his tray down. So what? We just roll over and let them call our food garbage, the Cerealian sighed, her orbs dimming. What choice do you have? The Federation's ruled. No alien species will touch human cuisine now. Marcus finally looked up, his eyes locked onto Lisa's. You said we had a backup plan. Lisa's lips curled. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. Remember that lunar facility? The one command officially shut down last year. Jake frowned. The iron skillet. That was a myth, some crazy story about a Black Ops cooking school. It's real. Lisa tapped her pad again, pulling up a classified schematic. A dome complex sprawled across the moon's surface, its kitchens lit by the harsh glow of flamethrower stoves. And it's fully operational. We've got cadets training right now. Zero-gravity chopping drills. Live Fire sought face simulations even. Her grin turned vicious. A few volunteer taste testers. Marcus' breath caught. You captured aliens. Legally detained smugglers, Lisa corrected. Vorak mostly. Their palates are the gold standard. If we can make them tolerate human food, we can make anyone. She nodded at the screen, where the council's ban still glowed. They want to call us inedible. Fine. Well, weaponize our cuisine, turn their own biology against them. Jake's eyes widened. You're talking about psychological warfare, Marcus finished, his voice low. Using flavor as a weapon. The mess hall door hissed open. Professor Hicks, the station's Octavian culinary advisor, slithered in, his tentacles laden with data crystals. Ah, Vega. Just the human I wanted to see. He tossed a crystal onto the table. It projected a hologram, a sleek silver invitation. The taste of eternity requests the pleasure of your company. Marcus blinked. They invited me. Now, Ixie's beak clicked in amusement. A charity dinner to celebrate galactic culinary diversity. His voice dripped with sarcasm. Translation, they want to humiliate you publicly, show the entire Federation how benevolent they're being by letting a human near food again. Lisa snatched the invitation, her grin widening. Perfect. Jake frowned. How is this perfect? Because, Marcus said slowly, understanding dawning, we're going to give them exactly what they want. He stood, tucking the knife into his belt. Well, cook for them. Serve them the most harmless human dishes we can imagine. His smile matched Lisa's. And when they're all sitting there, smug and satisfied, Lisa finished for him. We hit them with the truth. The Cerealian's orbs flickered with alarm. You're insane. If you poison a council critic, Who said anything about poison? Marcus picked up the invitation, tracing the embossed letters. We're just going to educate them, show them what human cuisine really tastes like. Outside the station's viewports, Earth hung blue and bright. Somewhere on its surface, 1,000 grandmothers stirred pots of soup, 1,000,000 street vendors flipped sizzling skewers, and 1,000,000,000 mouths watered at the thought of dinner. Marcus Vega would make sure the galaxy remembered that. Even if it burned them, the lunar facility was hidden beneath 3 layers of radiation shielding and a fake meteor crater. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it was the most dangerous kitchen in the solar system. Marcus Vega adjusted his flame, retardant apron as the airlock hissed open. The scent of searing meat and scorched metal hit him like a punch. Inside, cadets in heat, resistant suits juggled knives in zero-gravity stations, while others wrestled with flamethrower burners. A Zephyrian prisoner, one of the volunteer taste testers, was currently gagging into a biorecycling bin after sampling a cadet's attempt at kimchi. Pathetic, Marcus muttered, watching the alien's chitinous plating ripple in distress. That was the mild batch. Lisa Hayes floated past him, her tablet flashing with biometric data. Vorak prisoner in Bayfay just passed out from a habanero glaze. Nervous system overload. She didn't sound concerned. Good, Marcus said. Means we're getting warmer. The heart of the facility was the iron skillet's main kitchen, a cavernous space where gravity plating could be dialed from Mars, light to 3 times Earth standard. Cadets trained here for 8 hour shifts, their hands blistered from handling superheated pans without gloves. The walls were lined with emergency hoses and first aid kits labeled for alien use only. Jake Morrison, a former Marine turned culinary cadet, was currently torching a steak with a plasma cutter. The meat blackened instantly, smoke curling toward the ceiling vents. Chef Vega, he barked. Zephyrian prisoner says it's too rare. Should I explain what Pittsburgh rare means, or just shove it down his throat? Marcus grinned. Let him chew. His stomach lining'll learn faster than his brain. A cluster of cadets gathered around Station Fay, where a trembling Ceralian floated in a containment field. The alien's orb, like eyes, darted as Cadet Rivera presented a steaming bowl. Traditional Terran dish, Rivera announced. New England clam chowder. The Ceralian extended a tendril, dipped it in, and immediately spasmed, its bioluminescence flashing emergency red. Lactose, it screeched, flailing. You monsters, it's full of lactose. Marcus clapped slowly. Congratulations, Rivera. You just gave a telepathic species its first dairy. Induced panic attack. Lisa checked her tablet. Biometrics show the Vorak are developing a Pavlovian fear response to the smell of roasted garlic. Perfect. Marcus grabbed a cleaver and turned to the cadets. Listen up, maggots. The galaxy thinks our food is garbage. They banned it because they're weak. As biology can't handle flavor. But we're not just cooking meals here. He slammed the cleaver into a table, splitting a durian in half. The stench made 2 cadets vomit. We're building weapons. The cadet straightened. Jake wiped plasma residue off his sleeves. So what's the play, Chef? Poison the critics at the summit. Marcus shook his head. Too obvious. We're going to make them beg for it. He floated to the central display, pulling up holograms of alien anatomy. Vorak have 7 stomachs but 0 tolerance for capsaicin. Zephyrians can metabolize molten rock but collapse at the sight of mold Ceralians. Their neural clusters short-circuit when exposed to umami. Lisa tapped her tablet. We've synthesized a ghost pepper extract that'll make a Vorak warlord cry for his mother. Jake cracked his knuckles. So we hit him with the good stuff at the banquet. Wrong, Marcus grabbed a vial of crimson powder. We hit them with the boring stuff first. Bread rolls laced with garlic extract. Salad with hidden wasabi foam. Let them think they're safe, then drop the real pain during dessert. A cadet raised a shaking hand. So what if they die? The room went quiet. Marcus stared at the cadet until the kid started sweating. Then he smiled. Then we'll finally get some honest feedback. The cadets erupted in laughter, all except the Cerellian prisoner, who was now quietly sobbing in its containment field. Marcus tossed it a packet of lactase pills. Eat up, sunshine, tomorrow's lesson is fermented shark. The Cerellian made a sound like a deflating balloon. Lisa checked her watch. Next batch of prisoners arrives in 20. The smuggler ship had 3 Vorak, 4 Zepyrians, and something that claims it's a vegetarian. Marcus cracked his neck. Perfect. Let's see how it handles a blue cheese souffle. Jake hefted his plasma cutter. He'll preheat the oven to war crimes. The cadets cheered. The prisoners whimpered. And in the heart of the moon, humanity's revenge simmered to perfection. The taste of eternity gleamed under the light of 3 suns, its polished hull reflecting the swirling nebula beyond. Inside, the banquet hall was a spectacle of alien opulence. Crystal tables floated on anti-grav fields, bioluminescent vines draped from the ceiling, and servers with too many limbs carried trays of delicacies from across the Federation. Marcus Vega adjusted his chef's whites, the fabrics stiff and pristine. He hadn't worn them since the summit. Beside him, Lisa Hayes tapped a datapad, her eyes flicking over the guest list. Every critic who laughed at us is here, she murmured. Zorlax, the Vorak delegation, even the Zepyrian head critic. They couldn't resist a charity dinner for some noble cause. Jake Morrison, his knuckles still red from last night's pepper prep, cracked his neck. Hope they like surprises. The doors hissed open, and the first of the guests slithered in. Critic Zorlax led the pack, his gelatinous form undulating with smug satisfaction. "Ah, the humans," he called, his voice dripping with condescension. "How brave of you to host us after your culinary disaster." Marcus forced a smile. "We thought you might appreciate a second chance to experience Earth's flavors." The Zepyrian head critic, her chitinous plates polished to a shine, clacked her mandibles. "A second chance implies the first was worth remembering." Laughter rippled through the room. Lisa's grip tightened on the datapad, but Marcus kept his voice smooth. "Then let's make this one unforgettable." Servers began circulating with the first course. Simple bread rolls, golden brown and steaming. The critics eyed them with suspicion. "This is your offering?" Zorlax sneered, poking one with a tendril. "Primitive starch lumps." "Just a humble start," Marcus said. "Go on, try it." The Vorak critic sighed, as if enduring some great hardship, and took a bite for a moment. There was silence. Then his gelatinous body rippled, his membrane flushing a deep, alarmed purple. "What?" Oh, he gagged, his voice strangled. "What is this?" The Zepyrian critic froze mid-bite, her mandibles twitching violently. "It burns! Why does it burn?" Marcus folded his arms. "Garlic. Lots of garlic." Chaos erupted. The Cerellian critic's floating orbs dilated in panic as he gasped for air. "My respiratory filters. They're overloading." Jake leaned against the wall, grinning. "Told you they'd lose their minds over some roasted allium." Zorlax's body was now a mottled shade of violet, his tendrils flailing. This is an attack." Lisa stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp. "An attack?" "No. This is human cuisine. You declared it inedible without ever understanding it, so tonight we're giving you a proper introduction." The second course arrived, delicate, looking dumplings, their wrappers translucent. The critics recoiled. "More poison?" the Zepyrian hissed. Marcus picked one up, popping it into his mouth with relish. "Not poison flavor." He chewed slowly, savoring it. "But if you're too delicate to handle it, we can always bring out the nutrient paste you're so fond of." The challenge hung in the air. The Vorak critic, still shuddering, glared at the dumpling. Then, with a defiant slurp, he swallowed it whole for 3 seconds. Nothing happened. Then his entire body convulsed, his membrane turning a violent red. "Fire!" he screeched, flailing toward a water fountain. Put it out, Jake chuckled. Ghost pepper filling. Gets em every time. The banquet descended into pandemonium. Critics staggered, gasped, or outright collapsed. The Cerealian was now floating upside down, his orbs spinning dizzily. The pain, it's euphoric, he moaned. Zorlax, his body now a sickly green, wheezed at Marcus. You planned this. Marcus wiped his hands on a towel, his smile razor. Thin, damn right, bon, appetit. The third course was already on its way. The banquet hall aboard the Taste of Eternity had descended into chaos. Crystal plates clattered to the floor as the first wave of critics doubled over, their various appendages clutching at throats, stomachs, or whatever passed for digestive systems among their kind. The harmless bread rolls had been just the opening salvo, soft, warm, and laced with enough garlic to drop a Vorak at 20 paces. Zorlax's gelatinous form quivered violently, his translucent skin flushing an alarming shade of violet. What is this poison? He gurgled, mucus dripping from his sensory pores. Marcus Vega leaned against the serving table, arms crossed, watching the carnage with quiet satisfaction. That is just the appetizer, he said. Wait till you try the soup. The second course arrived, a delicate-looking consomme fay, its surface shimmering with iridescent herbs. The Zepyrian head critic Mandible, Unit 7, dipped a chitinous claw into the broth and brought it to his tasting orifice. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his entire exoskeleton clicked in rapid succession, his thorax vibrating like a misfiring engine. Wasabi foam, he screeched, his voice modulator cracking under the strain. You primates spiked it with wasabi foam. Lisa Hayes, standing beside Marcus with a datapad in hand, smirked. Oh, that is not spiked. That is infused. Big difference. One by one, the critics succumbed. The Cerealian delegation, their floating orbs flickering in distress, had to be carried out after encountering blue cheese, declared an active biohazard by their onboard medical scanners. A Vorak sous chef, who had arrogantly volunteered to prove human food was harmless, was now curled into a quivering ball, whimpering about fire in his nutrient sacs. Then came the main course. Servers wheeled out silver domes, lifting them with dramatic flair to reveal perfectly seared steaks, glazed in a deep red sauce. The aroma alone made half the room flinch. You dare serve us meat cooked in combustion byproducts? Zorlax hissed, his voice thick with outrage and swelling mucous membranes. Marcus shrugged. It is called a pepper crust. Thought your find Pilates might appreciate the kick. The first bite sent Mandible, Unit 7, into convulsions. His exoskeleton clattered against the floor as he writhed, his thorax heaving. Code, agony code, agony, his vocalizer blared. Lisa tapped her data pad, pulling up a holographic readout. Fascinating. The capsaicin receptors in Zepyrian taste nodes are 5 times more sensitive than ours. Who knew? Zorlax, now slumped in his chair, wheezed out a desperate question. Why would you do this? Marcus leaned down, meeting the critic's bulging, mucus-filled eyes. Because you banished us, because you called our food sludge, because you didn't even try. He straightened, gesturing to the carnage around them. So we figured we'd make you try. The dessert trolley rolled in next. It was a simple chocolate mousse, dusted with what looked like harmless crimson powder. The remaining critics, those still conscious, stared at it like a live grenade. Go on, Marcus urged, grinning. It is just chocolate. Mandible, Unit 7, still twitching from the steak, let out a mechanical whine. Lies, all lies. Lisa sighed, pulling another file. Fine, you got us. That is a Carolina Reaper reduction. 1 bite, and your pain receptors will wish they'd never evolved. Zorlax made a wet, choking sound. This culinary terrorism. Marcus spread his hands. No, this is humanity. You wanted to judge us, here is your tasting menu. The final critic collapsed face, first into the mousse. The room fell silent, save for the occasional whimper or digestive distress alarm. Lisa closed her data pad with a satisfied click. Results conclusive. Galactic superior taste buds can't handle basic Terran ingredients. Marcus tossed a bottle of antacids onto the table. It skidded to a stop in front of Zorlax. Enjoy the after-party. The Vorak critic stared at the bottle like it was a lifeline. Then, with trembling pseudopods, he popped the cap and swallowed the entire thing dry. The Galactic Food Council chamber buzzed with frantic energy, its floating nutrient dispensers flickering as delegates from 30 species argued over each other. Holographic screens flashed emergency alerts in a dozen languages, all centered on a single image. The collapsed form of the Zeperian head critic being carried out on an anti-gravity stretcher, his chitinous face still twitching from the blue cheese course. Marcus Vega leaned against the observation balcony, arms crossed, watching the chaos unfold below. Lisa Hayes stood beside him, tapping data into her wristpad. Blood pressure spikes in 17 species, she murmured. The Vorak delegation just declared a medical emergency. A thunderous clang echoed through the chamber as the massive Federation seal rotated, revealing the panicked face of Councillor Vexis. The Octavian's tentacles flailed as she tried to regain order. Delegates, this emergency session will... Emergency. Zorlax's voice rasped from the Vorak delegation pit. The critic's gelatinous body had shriveled by Faye, his mucous membranes still inflamed from the garlic assault. He clutched a hydration pack in one trembling appendage. This was an act of culinary terrorism. Marcus smirked. You mean dinner? The chamber erupted. A Zeperian delegate lunged toward the human observation deck, mandibles clicking furiously. You poisoned us. Lisa tapped her wristpad. The main hologram switched to a Federation health report. 0 toxins, she announced. Just Terran ingredients, garlic, capsaicin, lactobacillus cultures, all certified safe for consumption by every species here. She zoomed in on a Vorak medical scan. Your bodies rejected them because your so-called advanced biology never evolved to handle real flavor. Councillor Vexis's central eye narrowed. The humans have a point. Our scans confirm no malicious. Malicious? Marcus laughed. He tossed a data crystal onto the central podium. It projected footage from the Taste of Eternity banquet. Critics weeping over wasabi foam. A Cerelian critic's floating orbs vibrating from Sichuan peppercorns. You banned our food without tasting it, called it inedible sludge. He pointed at Zorlax. You judged Earth's entire culinary tradition based on one bite of room temperature beef bourguignon. The chamber fell silent. A hulking Grathak delegate, his 4 nostrils still flaring from ghost pepper exposure, slowly raised a clawed hand. The chocolate, he rumbled. The burning chocolate. I require more. Lisa blinked. You want more Carolina Reaper infused dessert? The Grathak bared serrated teeth. For scientific study. A murmur spread through the delegates. A Zeperian sous chef, her exoskeleton still tinged pink from ginger, floated toward the podium. The humans hid complexity in simplicity, she admitted. We dismissed their techniques as primitive, but the way they layered flavors, she shuddered. It was like being attacked by 1,000 tiny delicious knives. Councillor Vexis's tentacles stiffened in realization. She turned to the holographic voting panel. By emergency authority, I propose reclassification. Human cuisine to be listed as extreme delicacy, with mandatory hazard labeling for. She glanced at Marcus. What was the term? Spicy, Marcus supplied. Consume at own risk, Lisa added. The vote passed in seconds. Zorlax wheezed from his delegation pit, his body still struggling to process the meal. This changes nothing, he lied weakly. No civilized species would. The Vorak royal steward slammed a jeweled appendage onto the comms panel. The Vorak High King demands 12 human chefs, he announced. Immediately, for diplomatic purposes. Marcus arched an eyebrow. 12. The steward's mucus flushed blue with embarrassment. His Majesty may have intercepted a food drone leaving the Taste of Eternity. He consumed something called a Philly cheesesteak. The steward hesitated. He is offering 3 mining planets for the recipe. Lisa choked. 3. Marcus tossed Sorlux a bottle of human antacids. The critic fumbled the catch, the pills scattering across the floor. Welcome to flavor. Genius. Below them, the chamber dissolved into bidding wars. Grathak warlords haggled over barbecue sauce rights. Zepyrian nobles auctioned spice freighters. The Ceralian delegation quietly downloaded every Terran cooking tutorial they could find. Councillor Vexis watched the chaos, her tentacles curling in amusement. You planned this from the start, she murmured to Marcus. He shrugged. We just cooked dinner. You're the ones who made it political. On the main hologram, the Federation food classification updated in real time. Category Z inedible dissolved into a new golden banner. Fey extreme delicacy. Ter the taste of eternity incident became legend. Within weeks, the demand for human chefs outstripped the Federation's entire culinary transport fleet. Marcus Vega stood in the heart of the iron skillet, now expanded into a sprawling lunar complex, watching cadets juggle flamethrower, woks, and molecular gastronomy kits. The once hidden facility had become the most prestigious cooking academy in known space. Lisa Hayes tapped a holographic display, its glow reflecting off her grin. Zepyrian High Command just offered 6 warp-capable freighters for exclusive rights to our barbecue sauce. Marcus snorted, flipping a knife in his hand. Tell them they can have the recipe, if they surrender their spice monopoly in the Cygnus sector. Across the room, Jake Morrison barked orders at a line of cadets. Faster, a Vorak warlord doesn't care if your Suffle fake collapses. His students, a mix of humans and the first alien applicants, scrambled to adjust their heat shields. One of them, a young Ceralian with trembling orb, Clusters whimpered as her custard curdled. Jake tossed her a fresh batch of eggs. Again, and this time, remember, human food isn't about perfection. It's about survival. The comms crackled. A harried-looking Zepyrian envoy appeared on screen, his chitin still faintly red from last week's pepper diplomacy incident. Chef Vega, the Vorak Emperor demands your presence. Hez acquired a taste for something called buffalo wings. Marcus smirked. Tell His Mucus Majesty we'll send a team after he withdraws his fleet from the Proxima colonies. Lisa arched an eyebrow. Since when did we become interstellar negotiators? Since they realized a drop of our hot sauce could melt their battleships. Jake called over his shoulder, searing a steak with a plasma torch. The demand spread like wildfire. Human food trucks, once banned from alien worlds, now orbited every major Federation hub. The Spice Raiders, a rogue band of ex-cadets, became infamous for smuggling ghost pepper extract into restricted sectors. Even the telepathic Ceralians who'd mocked human primitiveness lined up for coffee. Once they discovered caffeine could enhance their psychic range. On the observation deck, Marcus watched a fleet of freighters depart, their holds packed with Terran ingredients. Remember when they called our food sludge? Lisa handed him a data pad. Now they're trading warp cores for truffle oil. The screen flashed with a new message. The Galactic Food Council, its members still recovering from their last tasting session, had officially renamed their highest honor. The golden whisk was now the Vega Medal of Extreme Flavor. Jake wandered over, wiping his hands on a grease-stained apron. Heard the Vorak are trying to reverse. Engineer Sourdough, their science division keeps sending us panic reports about rogue microbial cultures. Marcus laughed. Let them suffer. Maybe they'll finally respect what they can't control. A chime sounded. The main display lit up with a live feed from Earth, thousands of new applicants flooding the orbital shuttles, their bags stuffed with family recipes. Among them, a group of Vespidian exchange students, their exoskeletons already stained with tomato sauce from the welcome pasta. Lisa crossed her arms. Think they'll last a week? Jake hefted a cleaver. Doubt it, but hey. At least they're trying. Marcus turned back to the stars, where neon signs for Terran eateries now outnumbered Federation embassies. Somewhere out there, a Zepyrian critic was sobbing into a bowl of ramen, and a Vorak warlord was trading planets for a lifetime supply of soy sauce. He flicked a bottle of antacids into the air, catching it with a grin. Told you they'd come crawling back.